What you're looking at now is currently the most talked about game on social media, and I think we all know why. It looks pretty good. It looks okay. This is actually an FPS game being made in Unreal Engine 5 by an extremely small indie team who began to go viral when the man himself, Jake Lucky, tweeted out their progress.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another CSGO funny name tags video.
This tweet triggered a chain reaction of hundreds of thousands of people who were either in awe of the graphics or brought up concerns of this being too realistic for a shooter game. And that's where the story gets a little deeper. Obviously, the graphics aren't one of a kind and this is reasonably ordinary for Unreal Engine, but it's the concept of the police body cam that brings it all together like some kind of visual orgasm, and that makes it hard to tell apart from real life. It looks just like one of those airsoft videos until you see the guy actually going to sleep on the floor. I have a lot to talk about today. Usually when a person first sees this game, it's either instantly this is fake, Keiko and a brother, no shot I can't see pixels, or when's it coming out? Well, the developers, Drama, have said they don't know, which is honestly the best answer. Because making a promise in the gaming world in 2023 is a one-way ticket to hell. And as for platforms, they're developing for PC primarily and possibly consoles later if people play in a walk-in freezer. And no, the game isn't VR, it is an actual FPS game, so keyboard and mouse, and the game progresses through some kind of narration system. It also has a storyline and some kind of different choices, but by the looks of it, movement and shooting are pretty seamless. Also, one of the biggest concerns I saw on Twitter, where, you know, everyone knows everything and could solve fucking world hunger if they really wanted to, was that this 2-minute clip was pre-rendered and wasn't actual gameplay footage. But this was quickly diffused by people who have direct connections to the dev team, but that just shows you how unbelievable this game really is at the moment. I really hope those devs are keeping sane because holy shit. Imagine you're just a group of mates developing this cool concept you came up with and suddenly you're thrown in front of millions of people and told to answer thousands of questions. It's definitely a blessing, but a lot of pressure. And I would shit myself. Now, let's get to the annoying point. Realism. Is it too much? I'm gonna do something that you probably shouldn't do as a YouTuber, and that's give my opinion. No. Well, maybe. But we don't know enough to definitely say that this would be banned in certain countries, for example. But by the looks of it, the concept is about taking down criminals. Hardly as bad as GTA. And even then, over the next 10 years, graphics will only get better and better. And this won't be the only hyper-realistic game where, you know, you give people ouchies. There is 0 point of people getting worked up about this. But I think it will give a little bit of ground to the games inspire crime fiends. But fuck them anyway. Fuck them. Will this change gaming forever? No. Probably not. It's a good looking game, but it's just the concept of the body cam and the mosaic blurs that really bring it all together, like you're recreating some kind of live leak video. Add the watermark and it's genuinely almost indiscernible. The game has actually been in development for a while now, but only recently have the dev team began to create social media accounts to gain some real attention. Also, instead of hearing me waffle about features I don't understand, this is what developers said themselves about what the game actually offers. An original aiming system, free aiming system with authentic ADS and unrestricted hand movements. I don't know what that means. Die and retry combat with a technical and minimalist approach, no room for errors, and it's up to you to develop your own tactics. Make dialogue choices that impact your experience, even during combat, and it's a narrative-driven FPS that focuses on a plot rich in twists inspired by the best crime and thriller stories. They also compared the game to both Firewatch and Ready or Not, but one thing worries me a little bit. The game currently has no publisher and very little investment, but that's completely normal for an alpha indie game, and I'm sure investments will flow in now that the entire world is waiting for it. Like, it's undoubtedly gonna be a successful game, at least at the start, but this is an extremely weird position to be in for the developers. And earlier when I said the development team is extremely small, I meant it. It's 3 people, and all 3 have extremely French names, which is why I will not even attempt to pronounce them. The dev team is made up of a musician and writer, 1 programmer, and 1 level designer, which is pretty insane to think about. Imagine waking up to seeing 150k views on your trailer within 15 hours and millions of eyes all on you over social media. That's a lot of pressure that usually not even the biggest development studios seem to handle very well. But I think if they keep the concept simple as is and don't set their ambitions too high, they'll be pretty sweet. Oh, and maybe get a legal team pretty quickly, because a concept as good as this is sure to get stolen by some cigar smoking millionaire CEO. That's how shameless some of these big gaming corporations can be. Like, I don't want to see this shit being published by EA next year. But after all, it is just a concept. Nothing's copyrighted, and when's the last time a game didn't steal from somebody else? So, now that Unrecord is going viral in literally every part of the world, what's next? Well, with the release date undecided, it's likely to be a few months at least before we get any new news on a potential early access for the game. But there are a couple routes the dev team could go down. Clearly their goals haven't been fully reached yet, and they have more ambition since they're currently still recruiting for the team and haven't outlined their plans at all. I think it's clear this hyper-realistic genre still has its limitations, which is also why this concept is so perfect. It doesn't require big maps or loads of content to render. It's just small missions, small locations with highly detailed textures and formations, and while we don't know how well it runs yet, I'm sure it works pretty good. A game like PUBG, for example, obviously couldn't handle the same graphics, because, well, I think we know why. But to be honest, even nowadays, a NASA computer still can't run Rust on the lowest graphics. So Rust, for example, receiving hyper-realistic graphics is one for after we land on Mars. Now, I briefly covered it earlier, but is Unrecord really too realistic? That's the main topic of discussion on the Bluebird app, where one person said, Unrecord looks pretty, I admit, but I get the very strong impression that due to its realism factor and the fact that it's VR based, that some politicians somewhere will use it as a scapegoat for gun crimes. Yeah. No, I see that happening. I mean, apart from the game not actually being VR, that could be a valid point to some degree. Like, yeah, I think those politicians are reasonably stupid to start with, but we don't want to give them a leg to stand on. Not that I really care. I mean, I'll just play the game. Make a dumbass video doing dumbass stuff on the game and then go back to bed. Obviously, the whole live leak simulator feel will attract some weirdos, but to think those guys wouldn't do the same shit in GTA or literally any other game with a gun and other people is so dumb. But it's safe to say the next 10 years in gaming will be genuinely crazy. Maybe we'll even see GTA 6 in that time. If any other news about Unrecord does come out or early access is released, you can expect a follow-up video from me since I'm a YouTuber who craves hype and attention. Anyways, see you later.